Welcome to the Algebra 1 review for end of Unit 7 test. The first thing we need to understand, they're going to ask you to select all the expressions that are squares of linear expressions. So first, you need to understand that a linear equation is x plus or minus some number. Okay, the x is to the power of 1. So a linear term has the largest power of x as being x to the power of 1 or just x. A quadratic expression has an x squared. So that's the difference. All right, what they're going to do is they're going to give you several examples, and you're going to have to pick the ones that are examples of squares of linear expressions. So one example might be a standard form example written as x squared minus 8x plus 16, because this would be x minus 4 squared, or x minus 4 times x minus 4. Another example might be the factored form, and you might see something like 3x plus 9 times 3x plus 9. Here we have two linear terms being squared because they're actually the same linear term. And the last example you might see is a vertex form, where we might have something like 1/3 x plus 5 squared. Here we have the same factor twice, therefore it's being squared, and each factor by itself is a linear expression. So if you have any questions about how to determine what the square of linear terms looks like, please ask for clarification now so that you are prepared when you see it on the end of Unit 7 test. Number 2, they're going to tell you to select all equations that are equivalent to an equation set up like ax squared plus bx equals c. You're going to have to understand how to look at other expressions and determine whether or not they are equivalent to the one you are given. What you need to keep in mind is that you can move elements of equations from one side to the other by doing the opposite to both sides. For example, to move the c in the above equation from the right side to the left side, you would subtract c from both sides, because negative c is the opposite of c. If you have any questions about how to identify equivalent equations, please ask for clarification now before your test tomorrow. Number 3, a quadratic function is defined by f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c, which expression also defines f and best reveals the maximum or minimum of the function. The vertex form quadratic equation is best for finding the maximum or minimum of the function because the vertex is the maximum or minimum of a function. This form is written as a times x minus h squared plus k, where h is the x coordinate of the vertex and k is the y coordinate of the vertex. If you have any questions about the vertex form of a quadratic equation, please ask for clarification now so that you will be prepared for your final test tomorrow. Number 4, solve each equation in standard form by completing the square. First, move C to the other side. Second, add B divided by 2 squared to both sides. Third, write left side as a perfect square. Fourth, take the square roots of both sides. And finally, fifth, solve for x. This is how you solve by completing the square. If you have any questions about how to use completing the square, ask for clarification now before your final test tomorrow. Number 5, solve the equation that is in standard form set equal to 0. You'll be allowed to solve this equation using any method you want. You could use factoring, you could use completing the square, you could use quadratic formula. Because the one they give you will have a coefficient other than 1 for the a term, I would recommend using the quadratic formula. First, identify A, B, and C. Second, substitute the values into x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Third, calculate your answer or answers. Fourth, remember the square root of a positive number has a positive and negative value. So remember your plus minus. Do it once when you add and once when you subtract. If you have any questions about how to solve using the quadratic formula, please ask for clarification now so you are best prepared for your final test tomorrow. Number 6. Be able to explain whether a sum is a rational number or irrational number. Rational numbers are whole numbers, fractions, square roots of perfect squares, and decimals that repeat or end. Irrational numbers, on the other hand, are square roots of non-perfect squares and decimals that never stop or end. So if you take a square root of a non-perfect square, such as 5, then that'll be an irrational number. If you have a decimal that never stops and never ends, such as pi, then that is also an irrational number. But whole numbers are rational because they can be written as themselves over 1. Fractions are rational by definition. Square roots of perfect squares are rational because they become whole numbers, which can be written as themselves over 1. And decimals that repeat or end will be able to be written as fractions, such as 0.333 repeating is 1/3, or 0.25 is 1/4. If you have any questions about how to tell the difference between rational numbers and irrational numbers, Please use class time now to ask for further clarification so that you are best prepared for your final test tomorrow. Number 7. Be able to write an equation when the word problem gives you the standard form and the amount the function equals. Then solve for x using the quadratic formula. So the first thing you want to do is just set ax squared plus bx plus c equal to the amount that they give you. Then move the amount to the left side to set it equal to 0. Next, you'll identify A, B, and C then substitute them into the quadratic formula x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. When you solve for x, you'll find your answers. And the last thing they'll have you do is find the values of the vertex by rewriting the standard form into vertex form. You do this by completing the square. So you take ax squared plus bx plus c equals the amount. You will move c to the right side, add b divided by 2 squared to both sides, once you've added b divided by 2 squared to both sides, rewrite as a perfect square. This will give you a times x minus h squared. The last thing you'll need to do is move the right side to the left. This will give you a times x minus h squared plus k equals 0. And now you will have your vertex at hk. If you have any questions about anything on this study guide, be sure to ask questions today because your final test is tomorrow.